Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's web chat brought to you by T&D World, a publication focused on providing electric utility professionals with the information on the latest technologies and solutions in the energy industry. Our event today is entitled What to Expect When You're Inspecting, sponsored by Cyberhawk. I'm Brianna Sandridge, Senior Editor of Energy Tech and the moderator for today's web chat. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Now, before I introduce you to our speaker, let me go over a few housekeeping items to help you have the most seamless and participatory experience possible with our webinar platform. First, if you have any technical difficulties during today's session, let us know by using the questions window and our technical expert will help you out. We recommend that you disable any pop-up blocking software or extensions in your browser, as these can cause issues with the webinar player. In addition, we welcome your questions during today's event. Our presenter from Cyberhawk will answer as many questions as possible during the Q&A session that will follow the main presentation. So please feel free to send in your questions at any time. To do so, simply type your questions into the question window on the side of your screen and hit the submit button. Today's session is being recorded and will be available for free on the T&D World website within the next day or so. When the video is ready, you'll receive an email containing a link to the full presentation. Our speaker today is an industry expert with more than 30 years of experience helping the energy and utility industry enhance its reliability and efficiency. I'm excited to have with me today Matt Zafuto, Chief Commercial Officer at Cyberhawk. Welcome, Matt, and thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brianna. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Of course. Now, I know it's difficult to sum up a career that spans 3 decades, but what can you tell us about your experience in the utility industry and Cyberhawk's history in the T&D space?
Well, when I think about 3 decades, there's a lot that's gone on there. It makes me feel a little bit old. But a few things that I would mention. 3 decades ago, Amazon only sold books. Google wasn't even thought of. And I think there's a problem with the connection. It might be on my side. It can. Okay, Matt's good. And Apple, if I go back 3 decades, was on the verge of bankruptcy. So when those companies decided to have a breakout of who they were and the innovations that they provided, utilities really provided the lifeblood of that innovation for all of their technical advancements. Very similarly, about 15 years ago, Cyberhawk was a breakout player in the use of UAS solutions and technology to conduct inspections for their customers around the globe. When I look at the parallels between the breakouts of the technology companies and Cyberhawk being a breakout player, there are a lot of parallels. But again, all of that innovation happens because of the great work that utilities, TSOs, and DSOs do around the globe every day.
So throughout the years, what have you seen that you consider the main challenges customers are trying to overcome?
Well, I would say that for utilities, what we're hearing is that the pressure on them is greater than ever. They have to balance productivity and safety. They have to balance profitability and environmental stewardship. And they have to do this all while managing a grid that wasn't necessarily architected to deliver the services that are required by the communities and the businesses that they serve. As a result, we're hearing from customers that they need innovative ways of inspecting and maintaining their critical assets. This is becoming increasingly important, and all of those external tensions also are coupled with things like digital technology improvements, cybersecurity, and a lot of other regulatory pressures that utilities are facing today.
Now, utilities have been performing ground inspections for decades, and it seems like that's how the vast majority of inspections in the T&D space are still being done. So when it comes to factors such as cost, quality, and safety, how do aerial inspections compare to traditional ground inspections?
Well, UAS solutions really address all these objectives. The traditional methods provide limited visibility into the assets. So the utilities have done a great job of inspecting in the field for decades. That's their core competency. But from the ground, you only have visibility into a few different views of what the asset really is looking like, what the condition of the assets are as well. Drones and more importantly, the highly sophisticated payloads that are on the drones capture more data with higher fidelity than previously available. So um, this enables our utility customers to really receive better data, deliver it more quickly, and most of all, that data can be federated across the company so that not just the asset management department, but also other departments such as vegetation management can take advantage of the same capabilities and the same information. This way, they can speed decisions that each department might make. And when you add all of that together, it really saves a lot of OPEX for our customers and optimizes their operational and financial uh, delivery of the services that they provide.
So, if a utility wanted to implement an aerial inspection program, what would you say are the top two or three things that they need to keep in mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. Drones are very sophisticated devices, and there's more to UAS than just flying a drone. Um, what what a UAS program really entails is making sure that you have professionals who are flying the drones, that they have a structure referred to as a shot sheet on how they're going to capture that information. And those pilots are professional, they're highly skilled, and there are lots of people that think, well, I can just go to a big box retail store and buy a drone, as a hobbyist. But in reality, the ability to deliver the end result, which is better data to speed decisions, um, is in the hands of a highly qualified professional. And those skills are pretty important. Secondly, I would say that the understanding the quality of the data at the endpoint, and what decisions you'll need to make will really drive the capture of the data end to end. So if your objectives as a utility are to enhance SAIDI and CAFI, then you're going to be looking for key assets which may fail and then cause outages. Knowing what you need to look for that maybe are systemically causing outages will then drive how you're going to go about um, getting that data and then delivering that data. And most of all, I would say that the data flow changes a little bit. So as I mentioned, utilities have done a great job of manually capturing data in the field, and usually that's when the inspection occurs. There are some nuances. The core processes stay the same, but there are some nuances because now with UAS technology, you can capture more data, and then that inspection can be done in a distribution center, in a centralized operation where inspectors and supervisors can all be looking at that information and looking at better information so that they can make better decisions more quickly about their operations.
So, when implementing any new type of program, it can prove difficult at times. But what are some of the challenges that you're noticing companies are facing when it comes to setting up an aerial inspection program specifically?
Um, many companies are facing some challenges in scaling up because there's the perception that the new data flow doesn't currently align with their current cost models. So they know that they have crews that they need to distribute out into their operations, and those crews capture a certain number of assets and they're inspecting them, and then that creates data flow and workflow throughout the rest of their operations. Again, some of those nuances with the UAS program, the core doesn't change, but understanding those nuances is something that then uh, we're able to highlight and say there's a different way of doing this that actually you can do more inspections more quickly. The reality is that UAS inspection programs, when executed properly, can save millions of dollars. We have one customer who has saved over $180 million in OPEX last year. Other benefits include vegetation management that I mentioned earlier. So another customer said that the use of our solutions has enabled them to save over 25% in their vegetation management program in just one area. If you project that out over their entire service territory, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars. And that's, especially today, that's extremely important to utilities. So understanding the business cases and the process flows and some nuanced changes, really important, I think, to get utilities to scale with the UAS program.
When it comes to the industry as a whole, what are some technology developments that you're excited about that would enable companies to address different business challenges?
Yeah, there are a lot of really interesting technology changes that are going on. I mentioned that Cyberhawk has, uh, was founded a little bit over 15 years ago, and you can imagine over those 15 years what the technology advancements have been. The advancements that are upcoming include things like the advancement in payloads, the ability to capture better data. Better data equates to better decisions, more informed decisions, more quick decisions that our customers can make. Automation is really important for the entire industry. So the ability to uh, make the pilots in the field more productive so that they can capture more data, they can capture it over larger spans, things like beyond visual line of sight or BV loss. Uh, Automation coupled with BV loss or extended visual line of sight, all of those are very important advancements that we see going on and will be extremely important to deliver value to customers in the future. AI is clearly top of mind. We very rarely have conversations where AI isn't brought up, and it's very early yet, but inevitably AI will deliver benefits, and whether those benefits are just in terms of identifying defects or identifying specific objects, um, that we'll see lots of innovations there. And again, early days yet. Most of all, we've seen the technology scale from when Cyberhawk was first founded, uh, being able to do hundreds of assets per customer per year to now hundreds of thousands of assets per customer per year. So we're able to help customers of any size scale up or down with their programs. And then customers, inevitably, their environments are dynamic, and we're able to adjust and adapt as well.
So you touched on scaling there. So as these utilities scale their aerial inspection programs, there will be a lot of new data to deal with. What do you feel is a good approach to managing all of that data?
Yeah, this is an area where many of our customers and many of the discussions with prospective customers are struggling with today. Um, and what I would say is a visual data management solution is essential to streamlining the processing of the data, no matter what data we're talking about. So that data could be imagery, but it could also be 360-degree views. It could be LiDAR, thermal, corona. There could be any number of different devices. Not all drones and not all cameras and not all sensors are created equal. So visual data management solution that can incorporate all of that data so that you can see the different data types associated with those assets is extremely important. At Cyberhawk, we have our flagship product called iHawk, which we've delivered to over 5,000 end users around the globe. And it, the, I would also say that a critical success factor for visual data management is the ability to ingest large amounts of data, and then present that data in a way that people can make sense of. So, as an example, a few weeks ago, we had one customer ingest over 80,000 inspection ready images. And when I say inspection ready, it's not just ingesting them into a data lake, it's correlating them and collating them in a way that then the inspectors could go in and very quickly make decisions about what they need to maintain, what work orders or work requests they need to issue, and how that flows in the rest of their utility.
Now, most companies likely already have tools in place such as GIS, EAM, and workforce management systems. Will iHawk take the place of these?
Now, actually, I would say quite the contrary. iHawk actually leverages those existing investments and enhances the value of them. And I'll explain a little bit about that. So, uh, the GIS provides a lot of information. In a lot of cases, the GIS is integrated with the EAM solution. So when we get that data for the flights and the missions, we go ahead and we've got that information about the asset ID as well as the latitude and longitude of the asset itself. We gather that. The flights are conducted, that data is collated very easily, and now somebody can make a determination on a few things. Number one, sometimes the GIS data isn't all that great. And so part of our shot sheet identifies exactly where that asset is. So we can make a correction to the GIS data from iHawk and be able to make that modification. So you get better data fidelity there. As the inspector then makes a determination about what work they want to have executed, that work request then gets bundled as a work order by the distribution center. And so that data from iHawk flows into the EAM and the workforce management systems as well, so that it can be packaged up. Again, it's the work flow is the same, but the visual data management solution provides that mechanism for delivering with, again, the multiple data types: imagery, video, lidar, corona, etc. So that just makes the current investments of EAM and WFM, as well as the GIS, that much more valuable.
Awesome. Well, I know that we've covered a lot of really great information here today, but what would you say is your key message for any company that might be considering an aerial inspection program or who may have already started a program and are looking to scale it up?
Yeah, that that's a great question too. I would say this: quality and experience matter. Whether we're talking about the quality of the equipment, the quality of the payloads, the pilot experience, and getting the most value out of that equipment and those payloads, experience in orchestrating and distributing UAS crews to deliver business benefits. It's one thing to have one or two crews out there. It's very much a different situation to have 50 crews distributed throughout your service territory. And having that experience and having a quality deliverable matters there. As we just spoke about, scalable, efficient collation of the data that delivers value for the asset management department, the vegetation management, and federating that data so that everyone in the utility or the TSO or the DSO can make informed decisions very quickly off of the same information. And having those operational insights certainly matter. And I think just a quick plug that there's another web chat that Cyberhawk will be doing in the coming weeks that will dive into visual data management in much more detail. But a couple of parting thoughts are also: there are tangible, measurable operational and financial benefits that have been proven hundreds of thousands of times around the globe. And so, really understanding that it isn't a concept that needs to be proven anymore. There are hundreds of thousands of proof points. Understanding that, and then figuring out how to make that work for your operations and your utility. That's something that can definitely be explored, and UAS solutions can deliver extraordinary value.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, for that incredible conversation. It is invaluable to be equipped with more insight and knowledge about how new processes like aerial inspections can help create a safer and more reliable energy future. But we're not quite finished yet. Now, let's go ahead and move on to our Q&A portion of the event. And for our audience, please feel free to continue submitting your questions, and we will answer as many as we can during the remainder of our web chat. So for our first audience question, what about advancements in underwater robots like ROVs? Is Cyberhawk looking into that sector of technological advancement for certain clients?
Actually, we are, and we've seen this happen in other industries, perhaps more so than T&D utilities, but certainly in other operations, offshore oil and gas or offshore wind would be another example. So we certainly have seen those advancements. Several of the advancements that I mentioned earlier with regards to the payloads above ground apply to underground and underwater as well. We're seeing a lot of exciting advancements in those technologies as well.
All right. For our next question, what kind of inspection automation do you offer? How effective is automated inspection software to analyze inspection images?
Yeah, it's extremely important, and so we have invested quite a bit of uh, research and development in enhancing automation, and will continue to do so uh, because we believe that that will drive value for our customers over the coming years. So part of these advancements include things like being able to automate the uh, uploading of data so that the data automatically flows. It's collated. It's got a specific data folder. It's easy to ingest. It's sorted well, and also that it can identify any critical defects much more quickly rather than having a delay associated with it. Some of the other control advancements really focus on, I mentioned earlier, BV loss. So beyond visual line of sight, when coupled with automation, will be increasingly important for our customers, especially if you could think of like many of our friends that are managing cooperatives. Uh, Co-ops cover large portions of land. Co-ops, I believe, cover over 60% of the land mass in the United States. So you can think of long spans of transmission lines, and having the ability to automate the data collection and leverage beyond visual line of sight to affect that makes UAS technology much more affordable, much more feasible for somebody like the co-ops. We're seeing a lot of those advancements, and we're driving a lot of those advancements in conjunction with some of our partners on the equipment side and OEM side as well.
Perfect. Well, this next question actually kind of ties into what you were just talking about when it comes to advancements. What do you see as the next big step forward in inspection technology?
Um, Certainly, the automation that we just mentioned is a big part, and I don't know that there'll be one huge leap forward as opposed to significant incremental steps that will be game changers associated with it. Same kind of analogy that I would use, even with regards to smartphones. Well, cell phones were originally actually to make phone calls. Now that's the least utilized part of a smartphone, but that didn't happen overnight. It happened over a decade and a half, roughly. We see the same kind of thing going on with automation. It won't eliminate the need for pilots. The pilots, again, are highly skilled, but it will change the skill set associated with it, and they'll be able to focus on the high quality data capture as well. I also think that certainly on the software side, we see the need to correlate events. So whether that's with AI or machine learning, the ability to say, okay, over a time period, this asset, when we first inspected it, looked like this. Now, a year later, it looks like that. Now we can start to project and prognosticate what failures might look like on a go forward basis. So now we can make better informed decisions about, can we defer maintenance? Should we accelerate maintenance? Or do we have a problem that we didn't anticipate? Or actually, the condition of those assets is really good right now. The software part of that, again, as the fidelity of the data on the capture side increases, the ability to have prognostication and advanced intelligence, that will be increasingly important and deliver even greater results to utilities.
Perfect. Kind of continuing on that same line of utilities, have you performed any work capturing vegetation or automating captures of vegetation growth over time near utility infrastructure?
We have actually, and depending on the use case, certainly there are lots of ways to address vegetation, and utilities are leveraging some of that technology today. Um, and whether that data comes from satellite imagery, which can be expensive, or if there are fixed wing or helicopter captures of lidar, again, having a software platform whereby you can look at that and capture it and leverage that information is important. We have had some companies that have said, look, you're already doing the close visual inspection. We're already having you fly these assets for the purposes of doing thermal and corona analysis. How about if you just capture LiDAR while you're in the neighborhood, and then we'll look at the vegetation growth over a period of time as well. So being able to leverage one deployment, one mobilization, and execute that, now you get a much better granularity of the data when you're doing that, and vegetation management actually benefits from that, because you can then say, you know what, we better go out and maintain this now, or perhaps alternatively, and this is part of the savings that the one customer that I mentioned has seen. They were doing time-based vegetation management based on weather prognostications, and they realized, you know what, we don't have to roll trucks there. We're actually in good shape. And they were able to do that just on imagery alone without LiDAR data or anything else. So we are seeing that as an increasingly important use case. Vegetation management is one of the biggest expenses for utilities. We recognize that. It's also one of the key value drivers in keeping their communities that they serve safe. And so we're innovating quite a bit in vegetation management.
Perfect. Well, we're almost at the end of our webinar here, but we do have time for one more question.
Okay.
So for our final question, how would you say Cyberhawk differentiates from other aerial inspection vendors?
A couple of ways. One, the fact that we have an end-to-end solution is a key driver. So we don't just fly the drones. We don't just have the engineers that know how to process the data and analyze the data. And we don't just have the software. We have that end-to-end solution. So wherever a customer is, we can meet them depending on their requirements. So if you want any or all parts of that solution set that I mentioned, we're capable of doing that. There are certainly other software vendors out there. There are certainly other companies that can fly drones. The other thing I would say is, again, going back to one of my earlier points, quality matters. So the fact that we feel very strongly we have the best pilots in the world, and we have over 100 crews all around the globe, and we feel very strongly we have the best software that's fit for purpose in this area as well. So we differentiate ourselves by accelerating speed to decision, by knowing what that end-to-end value chain is, and we're very excited to be partnering with utilities around the globe every day.
Well, thank you so much for those answers, but I'm afraid we have run out of time for this webinar. However, for our audience, Matt has graciously offered to follow up with as many unanswered questions as possible via email in the coming days. And remember that this full presentation will be made available to watch very soon at tdworld.com. On behalf of T&D World, I want to thank our sponsor, Cyberhawk, and our brilliant speaker, Matt Zafuto, for helping put on today's web chat, What to Expect When You're Inspecting. And let's not forget our incredible group of attendees. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to join us today and for enhancing the conversation with your incredible questions. Thank you again for being part of this web chat, and I hope you all are able to join us for others in the future. Have a great day and goodbye for now.